You have to learn how to be four different things. Right? And I only really took the fourth one more seriously in this process. Or am I gonna, maybe be okay with this being like the crowning competitive achievement I have and start to focus on this next chapter of my life?
The Shintaro Higashi Show is sponsored by Higashi Brand. Train hard, live strong, wear Higashi Brand. Hakuin AI. Hakuin AI helps you measure, predict, and solve customer churn. Visit Hakuin AI and start your free churn audit today. Judo TV, your premier destination for live and on-demand judo coverage. Never miss a throw.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Shintaro Higashi Show with David Kim. We have a very special guest today. We have Marcus Johnson. You are starting one of the most beautiful gyms I've ever seen.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. I'm in the process of opening Heritage Jiu Jitsu studio, which is located in Morganville, New Jersey. It's part of Monmouth County. We're about 20 to 30 minutes from the beach. We're off exit 118 on the Garden State Parkway. We have a 42 to 4,300 square foot facility that we completely demoed and did from scratch. So every inch of the space has been organized, designed, and planned from the beginning with the intention of having a elevated jiu-jitsu studio.
Dude, it's honestly, like, I follow your stuff on Instagram, and we have a personal relationship. We're gonna get back to your jiu-jitsu career and all that stuff so people know a little bit more about you in a few minutes, but I've been following your Instagram, and it really is a stunning dojo. It's like if anyone ever said, like, all right, picture the best jiu-jitsu school, the most gorgeous jiu-jitsu school, it's really beautiful with like the color palettes and the tatami and the artwork. And tell us more about the design aspect of everything. Like, it really is an aesthetic gym.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate the kind words and the compliments. That's definitely something we are going for. I have to give credit where credit's due. I have a really good visual identity slash branding guru, mentor, consultant, you would speak. His name's Jorge. And basically, I brought my idea of the academy to him and some mood boards I had created, as well as some things I really liked. And like, I made a couple logos that definitely were not good enough. I don't have extensive editing background, but I play around in the computer enough through my years just running jiu-jitsu academies and making different things. And I brought it all to him, and he helped me kind of pare down what was unnecessary, clarify what was a little muddied, and highlight the best parts and really bring the brand and the identity together. I drew a lot of inspiration from, of course, within the industry of jiu-jitsu, but a lot from outside as well. As I think we see right now, jiu-jitsu and martial arts as a whole are really at the crux of this next level of industry popularity, where it's getting more mainstream, and there's more people who you would not think of as your standard martial arts practitioner getting into these sports and into these arts more as recreation and fitness. So that was a big goal, was for us to have a brand and a product that was digestible, approachable, welcoming, and something that you would aspire to associate yourself with, as well as doing the jiu-jitsu, right? So I think right now in jiu-jitsu, we're in a really beautiful spot, and you see so many different kind of sects of people or ideologies of design or niches kind of develop within the sport. And I felt that there was one that I wanted to cultivate.
Yeah. So before we get into the nitty gritty of the interesting side of the build out and all this stuff, let's talk a little bit about your jiu-jitsu history. For those of people who might not know, a lot of my listeners are judo guys, wrestlers, guys who are dabbling in jiu-jitsu who aren't really plugged in to like the IBJJF landscape. So yeah, tell us about your experience a little bit.
I've had my black belt long enough to get my first degree, so I'm almost a first degree black belt, technically, right? Under JT Torres. I've spent the last 5 years or so training at his academy and also being the GM of his academy. I relinquished that position in the last couple months to open my own. Prior to that, I had opened my own jiu-jitsu business, you could say, in Tatami to Go, in which I was bringing mats and private lessons to people during the pandemic when the gyms were closed in New York City. That was something I did out of necessity because at the time of the pandemic, I was working for Marcelo Garcia at his academy in the city. And this was my entry point into what I would categorize as professional jiu-jitsu. And it was at the Marcelo Garcia Academy where I saw the amount of revenue which could be generated by a jiu-jitsu business and the
Yeah.
amount of prestige and hard work that goes into like these world championship caliber athletes. And I was really impressed with all of this and thought that we could just brand and organize a little more intelligently and a little more particularly, that we could really really make something special there. So yeah, I spent a lot of time training prior to that as well at other smaller gyms, but this is when I really started to make jiu-jitsu my profession. Was at
Yeah.
Marcelo's gym and then managing Essential Jiu-Jitsu, which was JT's gym. Um, Competitively, I've never been like the strongest competitor, but last year I got third place at Master Worlds in my division, Master One Black Belt Middleweight. Um, Besides that, I've won some opens and placed
Yeah.
at some other tournaments at Black Belt, both at Masters, and I've placed at the adult level as well. But my real, I don't want to say strength, but I think the thing that I'm most notable for, though, is my instruction and coaching, as well as the business management side, of course. Um,
Yeah.
Sat in the corner of quite a few world champions in their campaigns. Most notably, I was had the absolute privilege to sit in Fionn Davies' corner when she won ADCC. I was there when she won Nogi Worlds along with Professor JT. He sat in the corner for that one, but we were there. Um, I've sat in Professor JT's corner at ADCC as well as a couple other events. I've helped and sat in on Gianni Grippo's World Finals matches quite a few times. I think two or three, and he's won some of them. He lost one at Pato, but really really tough
Yeah.
match. So my coaching, I think, is probably what got me like the most recognition and my ability to just recognize and disseminate information, like digest information, see patterns, and
Yeah.
bring it back to
You are a
people.
very good teacher. I gotta tell you, man, because me personally, as someone who has done privates with you, when I jumped back into the jiu-jitsu scene and I was getting a little bit obsessed with it in the last few years, like I was able to like learn from you, and you're very great at teaching, difficult to understand concepts. Like De La Hiva was not something that I was very good at. The spider lasso into the spider De La Hiva, all that stuff that you kind of, very complicated stuff that you do with the crab ride and so absolutely, you're great. I mean, who better than you to open up a gym to start teaching, right?
Yeah, I think the real reason that I appreciate the compliments too, by the way. I feel so flattered. Um, I think one of the reasons that I've been able to develop this teaching style is because I am not a very good natural athlete, and I'm not really naturally good at many things. So most of the things that I take interest in, I care a lot about getting better at. I think it's like a personality trait I have. Like either I care about something a lot and really want to get good at it, or it doesn't really interest me nearly at all. So with jujitsu, I had to kind of learn the hard way because I wasn't a natural athlete, like how these things worked, right? If you have a lot of
Yeah,
natural athleticism behind you, you can kind of get away with winning without knowing exactly why everything happened, and your body can take over, or you can just be a good competitor. But when things don't come as naturally to you, you have to start to digest and analyze and
yeah,
understand them from a different lens, which then you can
yeah,
then, reverse engineer and spread that information back out to others who are having the same
yeah.
difficulty in learning.
So in the last span of like last year, right? I saw you training really hard, coaching a lot, teaching, running the gym, and out of nowhere, I mean, not out of nowhere, but from where I was sitting, you're like, I'm gonna open a gym, and you just did it, right? So what was the timeline? Was that always the plan, or like, when did you fully decide, like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do? Like, what was sort of the timeline of this thing coming to fruition?
Yeah. So let me start by saying when I started doing jujitsu more seriously, I never wrote down, a lot of people say, like, oh, when they start doing jujitsu, like, I want to become a world champion. I want to open a
Yeah,
gym. Like, they set these, like, big, and they're great, lofty, ambitious goals, and I think they're very good for people. But I never really had that uh, situation. My whole thing was I just wanted to see how good I can get. And in order to do that, make it so that I could do jujitsu as much as possible for a long period of time. And
yeah,
that meant being a professional in the industry. And of course, I wanted to compete. And if I won a championship
yeah,
or two along the way, that's part of my story, right? But I
yeah,
really looked at it from a more bigger picture, like how can I get as good as possible? That means you have to train for as long as possible. How do I
yeah,
sustain training for as long as possible? I need to be able to feed myself and pay myself, right? If I want to train twice a day, but I'm working a nine
yeah.
to five, this will be very challenging,
Yeah, I
right?
can't do
But if
it.
I'm working in
Yeah,
jujitsu, I can train twice a day and still hopefully support myself. Um, so the gym came to be really, people have been asking me for a long time actually to come to New Jersey and open a gym. And I've had a couple of different people offer, oh, I'll help you finance it. Oh, we'll do this. Oh, we'll do that. And I never quite
Yeah.
felt comfortable for a
Mm.
couple of reasons. One, I didn't really fancy the idea of having a business partner with certain
Yeah.
people. I also wanted to focus on my own jiu-jitsu and my own training for a long time. So when I was
Mm.
at Marcelo's, people were asking me. I was like, no, I still have like studies I need to do. Like I'm trying to get better, right?
Yeah.
And then when I was at Essential, people were asking me for a while. I was like, oh no, like I'm still competing for myself and learning. I felt like I hit a stride in coaching, and I was
Yeah.
really happy where I was at. But there had been people asking me for a long time to open a gym, and there was a need. And a lot of people said to me for many years, oh, you do all the work at all these gyms to like keep them running. Like you're the one running the gym or you're the one doing the
Yeah.
most work. Like, why don't you just do it for yourself?
You
And I
do.
gotta say,
You did a lot of work. I remember
I gotta
that.
say,
Yeah.
like now that I get what they mean. I get it. I
Yeah.
get it now. Before I was like, whatever, like you don't get it. But now I do get it. Um,
Yeah.
So yeah, basically I got third at Master Worlds, and then I sat on the podium and I looked around to my right and my left to the guys who won. So Jamie Canuto won the division. Uh, I lost to my buddy Pedro, and then there was another guy who got third. Right, so I looked around and like we get the medals. I'm happy to be there. I'm pissed
Yeah.
I lost my semifinals match, and I really
Yeah.
wanted to fight Jamie. And then we all like take the pictures and hug, and they're like, "All right, like whatever, like we're gonna go to our gyms and to our kids." Basically, like a conversation was had. They're all Brazilian and me, so they did it. They had it in English, and they were like, I realized through this conversation somehow that everyone there either had a gym or kids,
Mm.
besides me. Like this guy
Yeah.
had a gym and two kids. That guy had a gym and two kids. This guy just had two kids, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't have a
Mm.
gym or kids. And it kind of dawned on me: am I gonna sit and grind away for the next year and try to move up two pegs to gold instead of bronze
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
no real guarantee or possible return on investment and like financial stability for my future family, my future kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, or am I gonna, maybe be okay with this
Mm.
being like the crowning competitive achievement I have and start to focus on this next chapter of my life? So I just kind of sat back and decided now's the time. I reached out to the most adamant of people who was asking me to open a gym, who was actually my
Mm.
first private lesson student ever
Wow.
in New Jersey. And he was one of the most adamant people, and we talked it out, and we came to terms that I became very comfortable with. And man, he's a really good guy. Shout outs to George. George is my
Yeah.
business partner, and he's the head of construction. And nothing I could have done, or nothing I've done here at Heritage, was possible without George for a variety of reasons, many reasons. He's just as integral, if not more integral, to Heritage as I am.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So when is the grand opening? Like, where can people find and look at pictures and videos? Like, plug your thing a little bit because honestly, man, I saw this on Instagram. I mean, I've known you forever, right? But like, I've been watching it on Instagram as the things are unfolding because I can't go to Jersey and dip in every day and stuff like that. It really is stunning gym. So where can people find it and then take a peek?
Yeah, so we're hoping to open June 15th. We still have a couple of little things to get off the checklist. They're installing our shower doors right now. So
Mm.
we got frosted glass shower doors. So we got those. They're getting installed right now. I
Yeah.
have a professional cleaning crew. I don't know if you can hear the vacuums in the background, but they're making it from like a
Mm.
partial construction site into like a facility ready for the public. So June 15th is when we're shooting to open. Fingers crossed everything goes well. I was actually just with a building instructor right before this call, and he was just giving us a couple pointers,
Yeah.
shout out to him, who did me a solid there. So just check us out. You can go to the website. It's heritage-bjj.com. Or probably a better optical way to look at what we're doing is to go to Instagram, and it's at heritage underscore BJJ, right?
Mm.
You can also follow me personally. It's MRJ underscore CGQ. But yeah, check us out there. Follow me.
Yeah.
Shoot me a message. Check out our shop. We have some really nice merch. I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit later. It's
Yeah.
heritage-bjj.shop.
Yeah, man. What a cool thing that you're doing over there. Do you already have staff and everything lined up?
So I have one staff member besides myself kind of lined up. He's
Mm.
actually coming here
Yeah.
later today. We're gonna go over some back end processes,
Nice.
membership
Do I know him?
software. No, no, you don't know
No.
him, but we'll
He's
know
a
him.
local
Yeah,
Yeah.
local Jersey guy. His name's Joe. Joe Winters, young kid. He's a comp sci
Mm.
student. Like he's studying coding and he like loves martial arts.
In terms of
So
like classes, you're gonna full throttle teach all the classes yourself in the beginning and all that stuff. Like, what does that even look? What is the plan?
yeah, so the plan is for as long as possible, I'm going to teach every class. One, I really like to
I love
teach.
that. Yeah, you're
Two,
awesome at it. Yeah.
I'm very particular about jujitsu. I really, really love jujitsu. I really, really
Yes,
love
you do.
studying
Yeah.
and like optimizing jujitsu. So I want to
Mm,
make sure for a very long time that all the jujitsu that's being taught, and it sounds kind of control freak esque now that I word it, right? I kind of
mm,
can have a little bit of a bottleneck on it to make sure that the students are learning the right things when, right?
yeah.
Especially in this area in New Jersey, a lot of my students are either going to be beginners or people
Mm,
who haven't had a lot of high level training. There's a certain amount of like software updating we have to do. There's a certain amount of prerequisite literature or like studying that you should have at certain belt levels, and this is something that I think that's been lost through the what I'll call the
yeah.
bastardization of the art, and it's just capitalism. It's cool. I'm not that mad about it. It's how I'm going to pay my bills. But the things
Yeah.
get watered down, right? One thing gets more popular, it gets a little watered down. So we need to
Yeah.
upgrade everyone's jiu-jitsu and get them up to speed with some stuff, and then we'll be comfortable with some people teaching, I feel.
So is that going to be sort of like a curriculum based thing that you're going to be doing out there, or what does that look like? Like, what is sort of the anticipated group size? Like, how many classes are you going to run? I remember like when Colton opened up a gym out there, there was a mass defect. A lot of the top guys at a lot of the local gyms went to him, so he already had, pretty like high level, mid level guys.
So I'll be offering from the jump three 6:30 a.m. classes. This will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then three 10:30 a.m. classes. This will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Right.
Wow.
So that's
Ambitious.
just
I
the
love
start.
that.
Yeah. Eventually, once we can get everything going, both of those
Yeah.
options, I'd like to expand to 5 days a week. And then I'm going to have
Wow.
a kids program 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, an adult fundamental and intro program, right? But it'll be like kind of mixed levels at 5:30 p.m. Monday
Yeah.
through Friday, and then adult advance at 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Saturdays we're gonna
Mm.
skills and drills class, which is a class that I've kind of came up with on my own that I think is a very beneficial class where there's not really sparring. You can think of
Yep.
this as like drilling time with light instruction, maybe some situational training, but maybe more like some eco and just like
Yeah.
maintaining weight distribution, things of this. Where at the end of the class, you shouldn't be in a full sweat. You should be warmed up, and there'll be open sparring after that will be unguided.
Mm.
And so it'll be like a 45-minute block of
Yeah.
technique work, but it's a little more active, right? As opposed to just doing a static drill, you know?
Mm.
Maybe like sequencing where your partner has to do certain reactions or has to try to hold your weight, right? And then 45 minutes of just open sparring, or you can keep drilling if you want after. And that's
Have you
Saturday.
sold memberships yet? Have you started selling memberships?
So, no, I have not sold any memberships yet because I do not personally believe in taking people's money if I'm not providing the
Yeah.
service. Now, this
That's
may be
crazy to me because I offered. I was like, yo, let me be the first member in your gym and I want to prepay the first month. Let me be that guy. And you're like, no, you
yeah.
refuse that, which is
So this
weird.
probably because of my privileged stance of coming from having some capital, right? If I was opening this on
Yeah.
like back of some sort of giant looming loan, I'd probably try to recoup my expenditure,
Yeah.
as soon as possible. But because of the circumstance that I'm blessed to be in,
Yeah.
feel it's right,
So June
That's-
15th, the doors open. You go in. The first person that walks through the door puts down their card. That's the first member.
Yep. Yep. So actually, I'm the first member because I had to test out the billing software. So just
Whoa,
yesterday,
that's not that fun.
yeah. So just
That's
yesterday,
the OCD coming out.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I thought about this, right? What if for whatever reason it just didn't work, right? So I signed someone up on the 15th. It processes their first month and their down payment for the uniforms, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
The next month auto bill comes up and it doesn't work right. But I signed up
Yeah.
10 or 15 people on that first day. Now there's 10 or 15 people I'm gonna have to try to resolve this issue with. Whereas if I did it
Very true.
today on
Yeah.
July
Yeah.
1st or July 2nd, sorry, I did it yesterday,
Yeah.
13 days before anyone else would get auto billed, I'll see this error. And I'll have 13
Yeah.
days to troubleshoot and resolve this error prior to it causing friction with my student base.
Yeah. It's just smart, and the barrier to entry for these kind of businesses, like if you did jujitsu your whole life, you want to start a gym, that's the dream. A lot of these guys don't know how the back end stuff works. You got to figure out mind body. Like this is your bread and butter a lot of the times, because you spent the last 10 years working on these systems, right?
Mm.
Did
Yeah.
you are
So,
you using mind body, or like what is the sort of the systems that you have in place to make sure this kind of thing runs smooth for everybody?
I'm not using Mind Body for a couple of reasons. Mind Body is kind of expensive, and it's not really
That's it.
optimized for martial arts businesses, and they'll even tell you
No.
that. They'll
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
they'll tell you both of those facts. The representative
Oh.
told me that.
Yeah.
Like they'll be upfront. We're like, look, we're not cheap, and we're not really made
Yeah.
specifically for martial arts.
Yeah. I
In
hate
addition,
it.
yeah, in addition to this, they don't have as many integrations as I would like. So
Mm,
what do I mean by this,
mm,
right? If you wanna, or I guess I should say this, they've adopted integrations over time, but they're not as
yeah.
intuitive because they were afterthoughts, they were add-ons, right?
No.
So things like mass emailing,
Mm,
um, um, online store, um, client portal, they
yep.
exist to some degree, but
Mm,
they're not very clean interfaces. They're a little
no.
choppy, they're a little buggy.
It's
The
clunky.
mind body interface itself, I will say I'm very accustomed with. I don't dislike it too much because it's like a giant index, in my opinion.
Yep.
It's very
Yep.
kind of bare bonesy, and that's good.
Yep.
No added
CRM
clutter.
ish. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to undo stuff, but I'm not
Yeah.
using them. I'm using a
Mm,
membership called Spark, right? And I chose
mm,
them
yeah.
because they have everything. It's made specifically for martial arts businesses, and they have
Yeah.
everything integrated on the front end. So they made this after the fact, right? It's a newer software. So they
Yeah.
have blast email very intuitively integrated.
Mm,
Rank system tracking, which I'm not going to do. I think
yeah.
it's kind of, unless I get like 1,000 students, right? I think I'll be able to just
Yeah.
look at people and watch them train and determine their rank. But stuff like that, pre-built in, right? There's
I'm
online,
demoting you.
yeah.
David going
Uh,
to blue belt.
How dare you? No way. Never
he,
going
he
back.
can he can retain all his judo belts though.
Yeah.
Of which there are none.
So yeah, I'm using Spark. It's pretty good. It's nice. I also use Shopify because I like online stores, and theirs is nice.
Yeah. And the merch is nice too. I bought the gi, and I was a little bit like jealous because I've been doing my merch stuff for like 2, 3 years now, and then I give you some of my contacts, like, that sucks. Let's try this, that, and you come up with this nice stuff that's like better than mine. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But the merch is great. The gis, like the super high quality. I bought the rash guards. I bought pretty much a whole lineup of the tops, and the training gear. Like what? Where did that come about? Like you like that stuff, or do you have a guide? Or everybody in jiu-jitsu wants to have judo, also, obviously, right? But how did you do all that?
I contacted a bunch of different factories in Pakistan and sent them
Yeah,
all the same
mm,
professionally made design file and said,
yeah,
"Make me this."
yeah,
And then they all came back. I think there was four of them.
mm,
And then I also went to a American-based company who does white labeling and customization. Went to them as well.
yeah,
So I had 5 samples total.
mm,
And then I put them all side by side and looked for two
yep,
different things. Looked for who made the design the closest to the file I sent, and who
mm,
made the design with the best, what I determined quality,
yeah,
right? So material choice,
yeah,
the cut I consider part of the quality because I'm not a seamstress, I'm not a tailor, I don't know how to measure the
yeah,
cut of the sleeve,
yeah,
this. So I looked for cut and quality, and then I picked depending on that as well as communications, right? Because most of the factories, the price points are relatively the same, right? But it's
yeah,
like you got to send money to somewhere overseas in Pakistan. It's
yeah,
very, for a good period of time, I had
mm,
money that was just floating, and I was like, wow, this guy could just disappear in Pakistan or whatever.
yeah.
Luckily,
Hey, then find them. Yeah,
distributor and the factory I go to, I have many. I got a couple different recommendations from other people that they also use him,
mm.
so I know he's probably going to disappear on me.
Do you have any advice for? I mean, the most listeners, that's their dream. To open up a gym, right? It's like anyone who's getting good at martial arts is like, what are you doing this for? And a lot of the times it's not world champion, Olympic champion, because that's a pipe dream. But like the idea of being a sensei, a business owner, running your own gym, it really appeals to everyone who does, right, David? I mean,
I mean, some people more than others, I think, some people
Yeah.
it's a flash in the pan and other people's more. But I do think the more you train and the longer you're in it, it does occur to you, right? Because I mean, you're spending so much time doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, but then I think the older you are, I think you can sort of make that separation between like, well, I don't want to destroy my love of this thing by making it my job,
Hmm.
if you're
Yeah.
if you're an old person. And that's not to say that will happen, because plenty of people love it and, do make it their avocation or their vocation. But I do think, it's more when you're younger. You're just
Yeah.
like, if I love pizza, I'm gonna own a pizza joint and just eat pizza all day. It's probably not good for you. It
No.
probably won't work out that way. But what impresses me about Marcus is that he doesn't have those illusions. He's going through all the checks. He's doing the hard stuff. Having to be very detail oriented, follow up with stuff. He has a interest in design, which is obviously, resulting in a very strong branding. That's what you want to see, I think, in someone who's starting a business because
Yeah.
they're going in with their eyes open.
So I would say that if your goal is to open a gym, right, like or an academy, a studio, a dojo, whatever you want to call it, right? Like I'm calling mine a studio. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
You have to learn a couple of things. Obviously, you have to learn the martial art, but you're going to do that regardless from training, right? You have to learn how to be four different things, right? And I only really took the fourth one more seriously in this process, but I even went into, this is like even bigger than this question, right? When I went into jujitsu and I decided I wanted to do it full time, I always said there was like three things that I viewed it in, like as an athlete, which is like what you can do, right? What you learn, what you can output with your body. As an instructor, which is like you giving information to others, right? And like helping them learn what's going on. And then as a coach, which is like how you help people with what they have already
Yeah.
get better, like more individualized, more motivating. This requires more personal connection because you can be a great coach and not that good of an athlete and not even that good of an
Yeah.
instructor. You could also be a
True.
great instructor and an awful coach. Or
Mm.
you could be a great athlete and really have no idea how to teach or coach someone, right? So
Very
I
true.
always thought
Very
that
true.
you have to invest in all three of these things. And I studied people around me. Sounds kind of creepy, but I always studied people around me who I viewed having these three traits.
Mm.
Particularly
Yeah.
at Marcelo's gym, I found people like distinctly different individuals who are good at these three things. And
Yeah.
then lastly, you have to learn the back end business processes. Right? This is the fourth pillar, which I think even I didn't see at first, but naturally I saw that my only way to sustain myself in jiu-jitsu was doing this one. And
Yeah.
what like your credit before, you said like this became my specialty was running the gym itself. This is
Yeah.
the hardest one. There's always going to be in time someone who wants to train jiu-jitsu, compete,
Mm.
teach, and coach. There's not always going to be someone who wants to do billing, back end
Oh,
processes,
yeah.
right?
That stuff's brutal.
Emails,
Yeah.
contacting leads, maintenance of your gym, fixing a water
Mm.
fountain. The
Yeah.
things for the day to day and to keep the business open, right?
Yeah.
And those things are specialized knowledge and specialized skills that you can start learning immediately at the
True.
gym that you train at, right? You say,
Yep.
hey, even if you don't have a job there, hey, I want to learn this. How do you do
Yep.
this? And watch them.
Yep.
Hey, let me clean the mat for free. And then you learn,
Mm.
oh, hey, let me, you know, help you inventory these products, right? Especially young guys. You're training, let's just say sorry, they're cleaning the door outside. So I don't know if you can hear it. You're
Yeah, that's
training
right.
maybe 3 to 5 hours a day max. Most of them are
Yeah.
training 1 to 3, but let's just say 3 to 5, right?
Mm.
You got to sleep 8 hours a day. So we got 13 hours there.
Mm.
There's 11 left. Let's say you spend 3 of them eating, sleeping, shitting, whatever else you
Yep.
do. Fucking
Yep.
video game, I don't care, right? You got 8 more hours.
Yeah.
Learn some specialized transferable knowledge and skills that make you more of an
Mm.
asset and more valuable than the guy next to you.
Yep.
Then you're going to move up the peg where you are. And then one day you're going to get to the top of the heap and you're going to realize you've done everything you need to do naturally to be the owner. to be the manager.
Hmm.
And then you're going to go into it with more confidence and more experience on your belt.
Yeah.
But if you just focus on fighting
Yeah.
for 6 years of your life, you just focus on fighting and fighting and fighting, and maybe you teach some
Yeah.
privates and maybe you teach some classes, but you never take a look at billing. You never take a look at how to make merch. You never take a look at customer relations. You never take a look at, I don't know, how to set up an electric meter, how to switch the gas into your name,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Then when you
Yeah,
go to
man, I
open
got
your,
guys like that too. It's like doing judo forever. It's like I want to open my gym. Like you've never owned a business before. Like you could have been learning this stuff the whole time. Like what? Like it's a whole nother thing. Do you gonna miss Essential?
oh yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna go train.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go there. It's Tuesday now. I'm gonna be there on Thursday. My plan is
Oh,
gonna be
nice.
to at least go there Thursday mornings and train for myself. That's why I built the schedule so that there's no 10:30 a.m. class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if I want to go
Yeah.
travel for my training, I have from roughly 8 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. to figure that out.
So, with all the experience you have running gyms, doing jujitsu, teaching, coaching, running mind body, sending emails, everything that you've done so far, opening up this gym, anything that surprised you so far?
One, how expensive everything is. Like when
Yeah.
I used to joke around, like when you're up to about 15 years old, you think in like $10 increments. Like, oh, I got this
Yeah.
$70 shirt. That's so cool. I got a hoodie, it
Yeah.
was $100, right? Once you
Yeah.
get to about 20, it's like hundreds of dollars. Like in your
Yeah.
20s, you're like, oh, I got a $700 dinner at, I don't know, some
Yeah.
fancy restaurant with my buddies or whatever it is, right? And then once you get to like 30 and like you're a business owner, like everything is in the thousands.
Everything.
Everything, every
Yeah.
invoice I receive these days is in the thousands of dollars. And I'm like, dude, this
Yeah.
sucks. Like I got to work so
Brutal.
much hard, to pay these invoices
Yep.
off.
Yep.
So that was definitely a little bit of a shock.
Yeah.
Things that I thought were very, very simple, thousands of dollars. Vinyl graphics on the wall,
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Permitting.
The things that cost the most, what were they?
Okay, I'll give you. So something that costs a lot for us here is we had to do this thing to the floor because with the units that we received here at Heritage, they were originally two side by side units. Okay, and I
Yeah.
took out the wall in the middle. Done.
Yeah.
But both units at one point were tile showrooms. So the entire from 6 feet up above my head height to the
Yeah.
floor into 2 U's, everything was covered in different tiles directly placed on the walls in concrete. So
Oh
we
my
had
God.
Yeah.
and rip out 4,300 square feet of ceramic tiles, and they had been there. The units were vacant for 8 years, and then we had to grind the floor flat. So I
No
think I was like,
way, man.
I
Grinding
think I was
down
like 20
concrete.
26 or 27 grand right there, like just to grind the floor.
Jeez.
That's how much
Wow.
work it was because it was a lot of physical labor.
Oh
Like just
yeah.
4,000
Yeah.
square feet of ceramic tiles
Yeah.
that just
How'd
to
you
get.
find your contractor?
Oh, my business partner owns a construction company,
Okay, that
so he does it
definitely
all.
helps.
Oh
Good.
yeah, that's
Good.
So like,
huge, man.
it's just as if not more important than me. So
Yeah,
that's like
that's
another
huge. Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Most people would have to deal with so much construction headache, and I
Yep.
still do, but for the
Yeah.
most part, like he takes care of all the heavy lifting. Like he's my
That's
GC,
nice. Yeah,
right?
that's
Where,
awesome.
where some people like you have to deal with the GC, like my
Yeah.
GC part owner, so it's a vested interest of his to make sure everything is done right and no issues arise.
Yeah. So what's the pricing strategy going to be like for your gym? Like, have you looked at the local market and have you done like the average and the median and all this stuff and the region? Like, what is the
Mhm.
pricing strategy going in to open a premium boutique, sort of high-end jiu-jitsu studio that's, really going to stand out? Like, what is the strategy for that?
Yeah, so I did a little bit of cost analysis of the gyms in the area, the academies in the area. I asked around and I found out kind of the average range is somewhere between
Mm.
about 160 to 225, depending on
Okay.
a couple of
Yeah.
factors. Some people are paying a lot less because they've been locked into a rate for a long time, of
Of
course.
course. Yeah.
So I positioned myself at the lower end of the bracket at $175 per month. Um,
Okay.
just to get people in the doors a little bit more, make them have a little bit less friction about switching over if that's something they intend to do.
Yeah.
But after I get X amount of members, I'm probably looking around 35 to 55 members. I'm going to raise it by $25, and it'll be $200 a month.
There you
There
go.
will
That's
be a
smart.
one-time sign-on
Yeah.
fee that is the equivalent of 1 month's tuition. So if your tuition payment is 175, the first month you have to pay 350. But with the
Yeah.
sign-on fee, I'm giving everyone uniforms. So you're going to receive either a gi and a no-gi set, or two gis if that's your choice, or two no-gi sets if that's your choice.
Yeah.
So you're coming out way on top on that sign-on fee. We're eating a significant amount of like loss of profit on this end, but we will have uniform policy here. So I want to make it
Yeah.
easy, accessible, and also encourage people to own the gear. Because as you said, I personally believe it's very, very nice. It made me consider raising the price when I got them, but I was like, you know what? I'm a man of the people.
Man of the people.
Marcus
Jiu-jitsu, your
Johnson, man
people.
of the
Yeah.
people.
Wow, that's amazing, man. So you're gonna do like first 50 people get this price. It's like a founder's price, all this stuff.
Yeah, so we have a pre-registrants list. All pre-registrants will have additional considerations to their price point. Right now, if someone comes in the door and they sign up for membership, it's 175. If I look on my pre-registrants list and you've been on the list since, long time ago, right? And then you show up after those first 50 people, you'll still receive 175.
I think I'm on that list, right? I'm pretty certain I
Yeah,
signed up for the thing. Yeah, so
yeah, you're
I'm
on the
good.
list.
I'm good. You on that list, David?
No, I didn't even know that was a thing. I think that's a Shintaro thing. You
Yeah.
saw how many memberships do you have across the United States? You must
I
have
don't
a
even
bunch
know.
of
That was
memberships.
Colton's first member, though. When Colton opened up the gym, I
Oh,
was like, "Listen,
yeah.
man, I know you're opening up the gym. Here's 2 months dues or something like that. I'm your first member. I want to support your thing, So I was trying to do the same with Marcus, but he didn't take my money, you know.
Yeah.
Once I can open for a
Yeah.
regular class schedule, I'll accept all your money.
But I want to
All of
be
it.
first. I want to be first, and I want to be the first member. That's the thing. So
Uh,
you
In
know,
you.
the gym does well. Marcus becomes a YouTuber. He has a million followers or whatever it is,
yeah,
and I could just ride the coattails of that. Be like, yo, I
that's
was the
right.
first student at Marcus Johnson's Heritage BJJ, and now it's a national chain. I'm like, I was the first student. I was the first student. It's just for clout, really. It's just purely selfish reasons. You know?
I like that uniform policy though because it can become such an annoying thing for people. I think, and I think you're doing it in a smart way because you have a uniform policy, but you're allowing people to get in a rational way, right? You're not just like sort of demanding people buy your merch. You're doing it in a way where it makes sense for them to do it because a lot of people, they're not going to have an opinion on gis anyway. And they look good. They're good quality. It's a
Yeah.
reasonable price. You're not asking them to pay like $250 for the gi. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's smart, and it really bends people out of shape. I think sometimes when you have these policies that people don't understand.
What percentage of your class are going to be gi and no gi?
Good question. Just to touch on the uniform policy, and then we'll
Yeah.
go into that one. I have a pretty lax uniform policy too, so you can wear any gi you want if you wear my rash guard underneath. If you wear
Oh.
our gi, you can
Okay.
wear a different rash guard. And
Oh,
then
okay. So
during
you got
nogi,
okay. Cool.
yeah, at nogi, if you want to wear my rash guard, you can wear different shorts. If you wear my shorts, you can wear a different rash guard. You're just required at all times to wear one piece. It's really less about like money or control or even aesthetics. I know some people do like the like they limit the
White gis
colors and the
only.
use for the
Yeah.
aesthetics of the gym. We're gonna require IBGF colors. Originally, I was gonna do white and blue only, but I've decided after seeing some black gis on the green mats, it looks good. But it's really just to promote team more than anything. Like
Yeah.
you go to a gym
Yeah.
and there's no uniform policy, and everyone's wearing like camo gi, yellow gi, white gi, blue gi, rash guard, t-shirt underneath. Like it looks kind of bad, and there's no like unifying identity, right? When you come inside of Heritage, I really want people to feel drawn to being part of something bigger than them, something they can aspire to be part
Yeah.
of and part of a community. And I think just having one logo on you can do that just a little bit. It reminds you like this person is my teammate. It's not just like some person that is here.
Yeah. I love that. Man, you nailed that.
Yeah, I try my
I'm gonna
best.
steal that from.
I do
I'm
a lot
gonna
of things.
steal that from my gym. Yeah, thinking
Good.
that.
I think everyone should have some sort of light uniform policy. Like even if
Yeah.
it's as small as okay, like you can wear whatever you want, but you have to put our patch on, or wear
Yeah.
whatever you want. Just wear our rash guard underneath, and then just make a moderately priced rash guard. $50,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. People are gonna buy rash
Yeah.
guards anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
Exactly.
Very true.
Exactly.
gi no gi split. Right now, I have Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the most part. Gi Tuesday, Thursday, no gi. The change up here though is that on Wednesday, 6:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. those are no gi too. just so that the morning guys can get nogi, right? So the morning guys have 3 classes per week. One of them is nogi. The evening people have 5 classes per week. 2 of them are nogi, right? On Saturday, we're going to have the skills and drills class, which you can attend gi or nogi, right? If you show up nogi and someone else shows up nogi, don't worry. Like the drills will more than likely at least have some sort of modification that is applicable in nogi, right? Most of what is taught there is not going to be like that specific to the gi. Occasionally it will be, in which case I will assign a different drill or a different idea for the no-gi players. So I didn't do it with the thought of making content per se, but I arranged my security cameras on the mat in a Z pattern and a zigzag so that you can capture every angle of the mat because my intention is to like I personally watch all of my training rounds. I do this at Essential because I'm the GM, so or I was the GM, so I had access to security camera. So here I made it so that the cameras are organized specifically for watching my training. Also, I have a couple iPads that on stands that we prop up and I film and record my own. That's how I make most of those reels. And I'm going to allow my students to do the same. Actually, I'm going to allow them to record their rounds. They won't be allowed to post them. Really, I think that just starts to get a little hairy. So that they can study them as long as they get their partner's consent. And I think as everyone communicates about it and is respectful, it will be no issue, right? And if there becomes an issue, I'm like, all right, you can't do it anymore. Right? I got to treat you like a child. I don't have to do that. Come on, be an adult.
That's perfect.
That's
perfect.
I'm doing film study review on Friday nights in my classes. It'll be Friday film study because I know Friday night classes sometimes are lighter at academies because you have to compete with going out to dinner or getting a beer with your friends or going to the movies, hanging out with your girlfriend. So we'll do something a little different if it takes off, it'll be good, like a Friday night film study where on Thursday earlier in the week I'll watch the rounds of the class, pick a couple of different interactions I see in the students' training or my own, and then break them down and we'll drill that on Friday nights.
That's perfect, awesome. Man.
I'm gonna go bring David. I'm gonna roll with him specifically, and then we could make that, post that on.
And you're just gonna see me punch his knee repeatedly. I'm just gonna hold it. And I'm just gonna pound on it. I actually have one question for you, Marcus. Just to step away from the academy, you've been doing jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu brings a lot of people. You meet a lot of different kinds of people in jiu-jitsu, right? Like, in Billions, they had John Danaher on the actual show, being his creepy self with Paul Giamatti, and so I'm sure you run into a lot of people, just doing teaching and doing privates and whatever. And I've noticed that you're often going to like Ronnie Chang's shows, and I remember he slipped a reference to an omoplata into one of his bits, and I was like, this guy must train because you don't just throw that into a bit. If you don't know or if you don't train. And so I'm wondering who are some of the people you've run into in your career and, what can you dish?
Yeah. So, I mean, Ronnie Chang, obviously he's a friend of mine. He's a student and friend of mine. I met him when I worked at Marcelo Garcia's gym. And honestly, at first I didn't even really know who he was. He was just there training and I tried to sell him a gi. I tried to sell him an AP gi and I wasn't even sponsored by AP at the time. I just had a bunch of APs and I saw that he was wearing one and it was his size. I tried to sell it to him. And then it turns around like in this weird full circle moment, then he got me an AP gi instead. I tried to sell it to him and from AP for free. It was crazy. But yeah, so I met him there and we just really connected because of the kind of similar backstory of being Asian and pursuing a career path that is a little more of a passion and not really as viewed as stable or as like what Asian parents would approve of, they're like, oh, be a lawyer, be a doctor. Oh, well, I mean, I guess David Kim's one of those, right? Which one is it? Accountant, whatever.
I'm not either.
He did all of it.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? And we just kind of linked up over lunch a couple times about that. And then we did a couple privates and we trained together and we just became really good friends, So he's a good friend of mine. I've taught Simon Kim quite a few times. He's the owner of Coat NYC and Coat Miami with Cocoduck. I highly recommend.
He trains? I didn't know that.
Simon Kim, he's the man. I actually taught him his first jiu-jitsu lesson ever with Tatami to Go. I brought him mats to his office in Manhattan and gave him his first jiu-jitsu lesson ever. Now he's training at Hazel Gracie Wall Street or Upper West Side, I believe. Really nice guy. You want to talk about attention to detail and just like a go-getter and like an ambitious, hungry, but super friendly person. Simon Kim is the man. He's a big inspiration to me and just his ability to scale upward and see big picture and just make impact. I'm a really big fan of cemetery.
So this
Anyways,
explains your food, your other interest, food.
yeah, I eat at Simon Kim's restaurants a lot because they're really really good. But I don't care what gym you trained at before, what gym you train at now, your religion, your sexual orientation, your political views, you know, any of that shit. I don't care about it.
Are
If you
judo
want
guys
to,
welcome?
yeah, yeah. I don't care about
Cool.
any of it, man. Like, you can leave that outside. If you want to learn
Yeah.
jujitsu, come inside, man. Come
Awesome.
inside. I want to share
Yeah.
the jujitsu that I've learned over the last, better part of 16 years and just
Yeah.
share that with people.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marcus, for coming on. And guys, look forward to me doing a dojo visit. And then I'll show you guys how beautiful the gym is. But you could always check it out at heritage-bjj.com and heritage_bjj on Instagram.